So before we
Yeah.
begin, I just want to quickly clarify why we are holding the exam at the time of year that we're holding it. Pre-COVID, we used to have black belt testing once a year, and it would always graduate in December. One When COVID hit, and as a way to keep the exam smaller and a little more intimate, we adjusted it to twice a year to cut down the sizes of the exam, and we just never got away from that. So we're working back towards that now. The way we're doing that is by adjusting this exam to 8 months from the last one, which puts us at February. And then the one after this one will fall in December. And from then forward, we'll keep an annual exam every December like we had before. It's just a much easier situation for us as a school to run an exam once a year. It's become very difficult for us to run two a year and a little bit confusing, to be honest. So, for those of you that are degree candidates that just tested 8 months ago, well, not 8 months yet, but will be 8 months, that's why we're giving you the option to potentially test early, or you can wait till the December exam. But we added you all to the list so that you didn't feel slighted that you got delayed 6 months.
That's really pertinent for the students who graduated this past June. Most of our other degrees will be well within their time frames, but for those black belts or degrees who just graduated a few months back, that's kind of in reference to you guys.
So just wanted to get that out in the open, and now we're gonna dive right into it. Unfortunately, these Zoom meetings only have a 40-minute limit, so we're gonna plow right through everything as quick as we can and try to leave as much time at the end for Q&A.
Um, I'll be running most of this stuff, as I mentioned earlier, for those who are just joining us. The recording of this meeting will be posted on our YouTube channel probably by Monday, and most of the information is available on our website. So if you miss a slide or something, or you don't write quick enough, don't stress about it. We'll have options for you guys to circle back. We also ask that we try and hold questions to the end, just so I can kind of breeze through all the information and we can get everything out there. And then, as Shihan mentioned, with whatever time we have remaining at the end of the meeting, we'll open up the floor for questions through the chat functionality on Zoom. All right, so getting started here, welcome. This is a meeting for all of our prospective black belt candidates, whether that be brown belts, degrees, and their parents, just to get a better picture of what the exam process is going to look like for you guys. We always start off with our preparations for the exam. So as Shihan mentioned, this year's exam cycle is going to be a little different than past years. Rather than being September to December, the timetable that we're going to be testing in will be marked as November 1st through January 31st. So that'll be your kind of 3-month gap that you're paying attention to. During that time frame, students must keep up regular attendance of 2 classes per week minimum, and that is 2 separate regular classes, whether that be advanced or black belt only class. BBC, leadership, and EIT classes will not count towards that average because generally they're not working black belt adjacent curriculum in those lessons. So we want to make sure that they're practicing the stuff they're going to be tested on with those 2 classes. There are minimum attendance cutoffs that all students have to make for the black belt testing. This is by graduation date that's listed here. So 120 students from brown going to black. From black belt to first degree is 100 attendances. From first to second is 200. And from second to third is 300, and so on and so forth. Those are your total attendance goals by the graduation date, which will be in early February. The first cutoff that everyone has to pay attention to is that November 1st cutoff that I have noted. That'll be the initial qualification cutoff that you have to make to maintain your eligibility for this year's cycle. So for brown belts, your magic number is 84 attendances by November 1st, degrees 64, second degrees 164, and third degrees 264. And remember, these are minimum requirements. I highly recommend that students work hard through September and October to be ahead of this pace. It'll alleviate some of the attendance pressure through November, December, and January. I always discourage kind of skirting the minimum line if possible. And then obviously for all of our black belt attendance and training periods during this test, we ask that students be punctual, be aware of what gear is required, and make sure you are fully prepared for everything that we throw at you, and meet all the deadlines as scheduled, which we'll go over in just a second here. Cool. We have a couple ways that students qualify. So the way I go over this, if you are in this meeting, if you received an email, you are initially qualified for the exam based on your current attendance and your current testing dates. As long as you are able to keep up with all of the requirements, you will remain eligible for the exam. However, if at any point during the testing process you miss a certain number of cutoffs or you miss one of the major cutoff points, you will be removed from the exam and moved to the next one. For the minor, I would call them due dates, there is a 3-strike policy. So something like you miss 1 week of 2-time-a-week attendances, something like that would be considered a minor thing. You would be given a strike on your exam, and you have a 3-strike policy for any of those minor infractions. There are a few cases in which there would be a call for immediate dismissal from the exam. That would be missing any of the major attendance cutoffs, that November 1st cutoff of 84 classes being the first one to make note of. If you are unable to complete the required 5K run in the allotted amount of time, that will disqualify you from continuing. And then missing any of the graduation date activities. Everyone must be there for all of the graduation date goings on, no exceptions. Any of those would qualify for immediate dismissal from the exam. Moving quickly into the physical requirements. So all students are required to have all techniques that they have practiced, white through brown belts. And then obviously, if you are a black belt, you have degree techniques in addition to that. There is for primarily sparring an age bracket noted. So the code for our age bracketing, as well as the black belt coloring on the embroidery on the black belts, are juniors are 12 years or younger. Our youth are noted as 12 to 15 years old. And then our adults are 16 and up. Degrees, for the purposes of sparring, do not have any bracketing. They will just be considered degrees. Our sparring requirements. So for brown belts, this is brown belts are doing their block sparring as is noted on the slide. So a junior brown belt would go for 15 minutes, a youth brown belt would go for 17, and an adult brown belt would go for 20 minutes. Degrees are expected to stay and spar with the brown belt, so they do not do a block of time. They will be at the test doing short rounds against the brown belts who are doing their full requirement here. As for the running, as I mentioned, there is a 5K requirement for everybody, regardless of age or rank. You must complete a 5K in under 37 minutes and submit a recording of that or some proof of that time to EFK to qualify. Submissions I usually recommend be done via GPS tracker. There are a couple apps on the various smartphone stores that'll allow you to do that. But if you wanted to register for an official 5K race and submit that time as well, that is fine. The obstacle course event has to be completed within an hour as part of that. Our other physical requirements, there are 5 categories of exercises that we require all the students to do. They are laid out in front of you here. There is a different stack for brown belts versus degrees. There is no difference for depending on what degree you're going for. So whether you're going for a 1st degree or a 3rd degree, your physical requirements remain the same. Push-ups are 100 for brown belts and 150 for degrees. Wall sits are 2 minutes for brown belts, 3 minutes for degrees. Plank, 2 minutes for brown belts, 3 minutes for degrees. jumping jacks, 200 jumping jacks continuously for brown belts and 300 for degrees, and squat thrusts, 35 continuous for brown belts and 40 for degrees. Neither the jumping jacks nor the squat thrusts have time limits. However, we request that students maintain a standardized pace so they don't, fluctuate or take any breaks. It is continuous and within reasonable time frame. Kata creation, this is for brown belts going for black belt only. Degrees, your kata that you present day of will be your ranked kata. So whether that be Basadai, Kankudai, Kankusho, or Hangetsu, those will be your presentations. Brown belts, you are responsible for creating your own showcase kata or your creative kata that you will be demonstrating on testing day. These katas must be 36 moves long. And we will have checkpoints throughout the exam process to give you feedback on how your kata is going, how many moves you have, and make sure that you are on the right track with these. There is an instructional video on how to create a kata that we will send out as well as a little jumping off point. But generally speaking, a move, as we count it, is a change in stance. So going from like a horse stance to a long stance or switching your long stance, and or a direction change. So facing the front, then turning to face the left, something like that. And again, there's video outlines to help out with this. We encourage students, these are showcase katas. They are not do what you think looks cool katas. So it's intended for each individual student to show what their strengths are in martial arts, where they excel, and what skill sets they think they do the best. So make sure that you are picking skills and picking movements that you feel strong in. There are no weapons allowed. This is an open hand kata demonstration, so no props, just you. And like I said, make sure it's something that really highlights what you've learned over the last couple of years. For our fundraising component, we are hosting another Kickathon event as we did last year. So Kickathon will be an event we host on December 6th. Students will raise pledges for the number of kicks they perform in a minute. And then following the Kickathon and the number of kicks that they do, those pledges will then be collected. I have a little math example down there. If it's 10 cents per kick pledged and the student throws 100 kicks, then a $10 donation would be sent in. This year, we are going to try and use a new system to digitalize all the submissions, which we will send out in a future email with details on how to do that. Similar to like a GoFundMe page, but just to make collecting on your pledges a little easier. That is something we are working on in the background, but the Kickathon will be held on December 6th. So make sure you guys mark down your calendar for that date. Black belt reflection, both degrees and brown belts are expected to record a reflection on their journey thus far. Brown belts are reflecting on their journey from white to black belt and what getting their black belt means. And degrees are reflecting on what their degree process has been like, what has changed since they received their black belt, and what their future goals are in regards to their journey. We are doing video submissions only this year, so no essays, no written essays, although you can write one and then verbalize it, but we're asking for video submissions, keeping the videos to about a minute, maybe 90 seconds at most, so it shouldn't be a super long recording, just a quick overview to be submitted to the school. Testing day. So this is just a quick overview of our graduation date, which I have a dates page coming up with all of kind of the dates to pay attention to. So we'll speak very generally on this. The testing day will be broken down into essentially 5 parts. We're doing the testing day all in one fell swoop this year. So the basics portion of the day will happen first. It'll be in the morning of the testing day. And in that section, we will cover all of your basics, including your basic katas and your fitness testing. Then you will present your testing kata. So for brown belts, that'll be your creative kata. And for degrees, that'll be your ranked katas. We will then do the obstacle course. And that will be followed by the sparring test, where brown belts are doing their block of time and the degrees are assisting with the sparring aspect. There will then be a short or a brief break, and we will then roll into the extravaganza, which is our stage performance, where the students will get up on stage, get their highlighted time, and then we will at the end of the performance will graduate the students. That's where they will actually receive their belts and bow in to their new ranks. I'll leave this up for just a minute here so everyone can take notes if they'd like, or take a quick screenshot. These are some of the major dates to keep in mind for spring, and there will be some releasing as we get closer to the time, namely the candidate classes that we haven't officially booked yet. Kata checkups will be every 2 weeks once we do the first checkup. Usually I give the students about a month of the testing process before we do our initial checkups. And then we will be checking up every couple weeks with new goals for moves, or new goals if it's degrees for understanding of the katas. So those will happen every 2 weeks once we get rolling. That first attendance cutoff that I mentioned is 84 classes by November 1st. And that will also mark the time in which we require the 2 time a week minimum. November 1st will be that kind of that starting gun, as you would. Fitness assessments, as well as one of your candidate classes and the kickathon, will all happen on December 6th. So please make sure that that date is highlighted in big letters on your calendar. That's going to be a big black belt testing day. There will be additional candidate classes. Everyone will have to attend at least one additional candidate class outside of December 6th. We're going to format these a little differently this go around. Shihan and I are going to open up some open mat dates throughout the testing process that students can register for. And students will be able to pop through the school. Shihan and I will be there for the entire day. And we will be offering, mini private lessons, checkups, whether it be a 10-minute checkup or a 15 to 20-minute kata workshop. We will be working through that with the students as their additional candidate class. Those dates have not yet been posted, but will be posted hopefully sometime in late September, early October, once we get a better map of how many students we have participating in the exam. I'll get to the obstacle course in a minute. Your due dates for most of the major things are going to be at the tail end of January. So 36 kata moves are due by January 17th. The essays, final due dates for fundraising projects, and kind of all of that stuff concludes on January 26th at the absolute latest. And then the attendance tracking will stop on January 31st, with the final graduation date being set on February 7th. So February 7th is the other big day to highlight on the calendar. That'll be the date where we do all of the obstacle course, the testing proceedings, as well as the graduation date. So make sure that that date is the other one that's kind of in big bold letters, that and December 6th. 5K will also be cut off on January 31st. It'll be the final due date for 5K. That's not on here. As I had mentioned earlier, we try and be as communicative as possible throughout this process. Once we get into the mix, there will be weekly black belt emails that go out with reminders of due dates, upcoming things, things we want to have you guys paying attention to. So please make sure that you are receiving those emails. If you are not, for whatever reason, once we start sending them, or you don't often receive emails from EFK, please make sure that you are getting those before we start the process. Otherwise, it's going to be a challenge for communication. The last thing I'm going to do before I open it up to questions, I know Shihan has been picking off some in the box here. I'm going to put in my direct email into the chat here for everyone to jot down. That is the direct line to myself for any questions or concerns that anyone might have regarding the testing process. Shihan and I work very closely with all the candidates as they move through this process, and we would encourage everybody to reach out with any questions that they have early so that we can get things clarified. We hate leaving things to the last minute. It just makes everyone a little more stressed than they need to be. All right, so questions. I know that Shihan's been picking off some, so I am paying attention to the chat here.
Only questions we did not answer were the 5K due date, which I think somebody actually might have answered for us. I'm not sure.
Yep, 5K due date would be no later than January 31st.
And then someone wants us to clarify the fitness assessment on December 6th.
Fitness assessment will be held as part of the candidate classes during the 6th of December. Time frame is I believe between 11:30 and 2 on that date.
That's an opportunity for us to make sure everyone is either at the correct fitness level to clear the test or pretty close to it so that they don't. We want to set them up to succeed. We don't want to have someone come to the exam and not be prepared.
I will say with any of the major dates that I mentioned, the 7th date is is something that everyone needs to be at. If you have a prior commitment on December 6th, email myself or Shihan and we will discuss those cases on an individual basis. The February 7th date is something that everyone must be in attendance for in order to continue on the graduation cycle.
The obstacle course consists of, it is a 5K. In addition to that, there will be obstacles along the way. Examples of obstacles might be 100 front kicks, 100 jumping jacks. So every few laps they do, they'll have to perform some kind of additional obstacle.
Laura, I do see, sorry, I just noticed the hand up.
Thank you. I just had a couple quick questions. We've done this once before with Aiden's brother Keegan, so obviously the timing changes things a little bit. So the obstacle course, I just want to clarify, the obstacle course is scheduled for February 7th or February 6th?
February 7th. It'll be the same
7th,
day
so
as
the same day
regular.
as graduation. Same day as graduation?
Correct, yes.
Okay, great. And so I assume it's inside with the date being in February?
Yes.
Okay, very good. And then do you want anyone interested to confirm to you by your personal email you put in the chat that we want to sign up for black belt testing? Or if we've spoken to the dojo, just it's good.
Good question. So for anyone who is on the fence or just info gathering, the way that we typically handle this is everyone who has been invited is currently registered as a candidate. If you do not feel like this is the right time to test, or it's something that you're a little overwhelmed with, or whatever it may be, reach out to us to let us know that you're not going to participate or you're not going to continue. If we don't hear from you, we'll assume that you're going to be on the cycle until we hear otherwise. And that'll go for every student until you kind of disqualify yourself. Okay. Earliest that we can submit a 5K.
Well, there's been a few questions about can we do it now while the weather's nice, and the answer to that is yes. So if you know you're testing, you know you're on board, and you want to do the 5K and get it while the weather's still good, now is okay. Our only concern is we want everyone to stay in shape for the obstacle course. So the 5K is a precursor for being able to get through the obstacle course. So if someone runs a 5K now and then stops running and keeping up their cardiovascular strength, when February comes around, they're going to struggle. So the answer is yes, but with a big asterisk, meaning you need to keep running the entire winter.
How do we access the so can you elaborate more on the fundraiser? So the fundraiser again is going to be a kickathon fundraiser. That means students will raise money similar to how you would raise money for like running a 5K race or something like that. Or like I know Relay for Life does a similar kind of deal where you would get a pledge per lap that you run. So for the kickathon, it is a donation per kick. So again, in the example, let's say 10 cents per kick would be donated. A student will come during the event on December 6th. They will get an opportunity to come up. They will have 1 minute to perform as many kicks as humanly possible. They will be front kicks, generally speaking, into a pad that one of our staff is going to be holding. And then we will give you a card with the total number of kicks that you completed. And then that'll be used to collect on the donations that were.
We're going to send out a separate email with definitions and explanation of the fundraising and how that whole event is going to work. That's kind of run as a whole separate event, and there's a lot to it. So to go over every detail now might be too much. There'll be an entirely separate email about when that needs to start and explanation.
Sounds good. How do you access the Black Belt portal? Black Belt portal will be on our website. If you go to the members area and then the testing drop down, there is a Black Belt testing link that should bring you to the testing portal. How many Black Belt ceremonies are held in a year? We are on our way back to one ceremony per year. So there will be one held in February, and then the next one will be in December of 2026. For degree candidates, do they all do katas? So the underbelt katas will likely be done in groups. The degree katas or the ranked katas will be performed individually. Suggested fundraising goal for an individual student would be $350 would be the target for each student. We just got my 10-minute warning on our Zoom meeting.
Well, we're good then. This is
So
better
we
than
are
we should
ahead
be.
of pace. Oh, good question on the Black Belt tracker. I forgot to mention that. So every year we do a Black Belt progress tracker on our website. It is in the same place as the Black Belt portal. That is intended for people to have a little bit of an area, a live track area, to see where their attendance is at, what requirements they've completed, what requirements still need to be completed. For brown belt, your current kata count as of your last checkup will be noted there. That is a free service that we offer, but you do need to register for it. You need to let us know. We do not add your name automatically. So if that's something you're interested in, we will share details on how to get set up on that in our first Black Belt update email that will go out next week. But keep an eye out for that if you're interested in having that progress be tracked live. I can try, yes, the Black Belt portal link. Let me see. I'm always running a little thin when I'm doing these meetings. Let me see if I can pull it up and share the link for you guys. So this is the link to the Black Belt portal for those who are asking. Is there any leeway for fundraising totals for siblings? Yes. Usually the goal for siblings, what do we
It's usually like
historically do?
1.5.
Yeah, so it's 500
Yeah.
for a pair. So for a pair of siblings, the goal would be 500 on the fundraising. Fundraising totals is not a cut point where if you do not raise the $350, you do not progress in the exam. That is just the goal that we ask students to shoot for. We've had students, raise in the $200 range. We've had students get to, a few $1,000s with their campaigns. So it really depends on your pools and stuff. So we get that. So those are goals, but not requirements per se. Extra. How to submit other fitness. So no need to submit any fitness requirements. The fitness assessment on the 6th is a checkpoint to see how everyone's doing. And then there will be the final kind of submission of your fitness requirements will be done on the day of the February test. For first degree, is 64 credits possible by November? So for anyone who graduated in June for Black Belt, depending on your summer, the boot camps counted, and that 64 credits does include, or 64 class count total does include your Black Belt club and leadership attendances. That's just an attendance total, not the 2 minimum deal. So it is possible. Some of students might be a little further off of that total than others. We didn't disqualify anybody based on current attendance, knowing that students can work hard if they want to get there. But yes, for some students, depending on your summer plans, 64 or 84 by November 1st might be
The
a
portal needs to be
a
updated.
challenge.
I guess there's different options for fundraising on there still.
Okay. I did not have a chance to go through the portal with a fine-tooth comb. So if you see anything that directly conflicts with the slideshow, that will be updated by beginning of next week. The slideshow is the most up-to-date information that we have available at this time. And like I said, everything else will be updated in kind. I thought I got everything on the portal, but it is definitely possible I missed a couple of things.
Yeah, picked off everything. I think we're caught up.
Okay, Shihan is telling me we thinks we're caught up. We probably are ticking down on our meeting timer. I think I'm under 5 minutes. So any final questions that you have squeezed in now? Otherwise, we can email me in that email link that I added. So TMS charity, it's probably more for Shihan to speak on why TMS is the charity of choice.
We'll send out an email explaining that and defining that as well. There is a possibility we might pivot on that based on some ongoing circumstances right now. We will have a bunch of emails going out clarifying a lot of the test.
Subsequent brown belt stripe testing opportunities. So there'll be a brown belt stripe test coming up soon. And then during your candidate classes for degrees, we will also look at stripe testing for some of the brown belts. 84 classes would be your 6 stripe cutoff for brown belts. So that's why that number is the way it is. So hopefully if you hit your 84 classes or if you're ahead of the pace by that, you can have your 6 stripes noted by the November 1st date. Any indoor track recommendations for 5K during the winter? There's a couple local schools that have them. I don't know about what open track or like public usage looks like, to be honest. I can absolutely post a couch to 5K plan for students. That'll get you in shape in about an 8 to 12 week cycle to get a 5K under. I will include that in one of the emails. Will we be doing a running club? Running club in the winter, for obvious reasons, is challenging. I will give you guys plenty of resources to format on your own, and we will come up with some kind of running club option or look at a running club option. I do not want to say concretely there will be one because I don't want to be a liar on camera, but
Few questions about the stripe testing. It is October 18th.
Degree time for the 5K is 37 minutes or less. That'll be a 5K time requirement for everybody.
What time is the testing that day? We do about brown belt strips at the end of the day? 18th. No, on the 18th, what time?
We will clarify the time for brown belt stripe testing in just a second.
That's Miss Kate's department, and she's looking it up.
Any last minute questions? Type it in chat here.
4:20 is the time for that stripe test.
We got 2 minutes left on the meeting here. Any last minute questions? Just type them in chat.
You can also email us with questions.
Yep.
I know many of you are probably curious about where your attendance is now. You can ask at the front desk at any location, or you can also email us and we can get back to you as soon as possible with that.
All right. Once again, wrapping up. So the Black Belt portal will make sure is up to date 100% by the beginning of next week. I'll comb it this weekend. The slideshow presentation, as well as all of the audio from this presentation, will be available on our YouTube channel by the latest end of day on Monday for everyone to go back and review. And then please make sure, once again, that you've noted direct emails for myself, and Shihan can see those emails as well. So any questions that we did not get a chance to pick off today, or anything that crops up in the next, couple of days, if you didn't think of it, please don't hesitate to send it over. I want everyone to feel extremely comfortable with the process, what it looks like, and what the expectations are from our end. More information out there means a smoother process for everyone involved, and that is our goal from start to finish on this. So please email us with any questions, and keep an eye on your email early next week for those update emails to go out that Shihan and I mentioned. Probably Tuesday would be my guess as to when those emails will be fired out for the first time. With that being said, I'm going to get kicked out of here in a second, so we're going to wrap up. Thank you everyone for participating and coming to check it out. I hope we answered all your questions, and we will see you guys in classes soon.